I'm Haley.
I'm John.
And I'm Will.
And we're from Crimson Comet, a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network.
Just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual host.
Check out other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. And get ready, because geekiness begins in
3,
2,
1.
Talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. The IntelleXual Podcast starts now.
Hey everybody, David here. Welcome to the IntelleXual Podcast. Before we get into the actual episode, I just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about Black Panther. I watched the premiere last night, and Marvel has done an absolutely incredible job once again creating another universe within their universe. The Black Panther movie creates the fictional world of Wakanda, a secretive country in Africa that has hidden a secret from the rest of the world for ages about their technological advancements, their wealth, and what we get from Marvel's Black Panther is not just a movie that is just a triumph of comic book filmmaking, but it's a very important film. It's a very serious, very intelligent, very smart look at race, at international relations, at equality, male, female, color. It doesn't matter. It's such a deep film, and I'm just blown away by it. So I don't want to give any spoilers on it. Absolutely, people need to see this film. But my initial reaction is, what a absolute delight the film is. Unlike any of the other Marvel films before it, I mean, it still fits very, very well into the MCU, but it doesn't shy away from very heady topics, and it is fantastic. So make sure you go check out Black Panther from Marvel Studios this weekend. Opening weekend, and it looks like the film's on pace to break a whole bunch of records this weekend. So congratulations to Marvel and to Ryan Coogler, who directed it, and to the entire cast and crew. They brought something really special to the screen, and I think you're going to enjoy it when you go and see it. And now, here's the 213th episode of the IntelleXual Podcast on the Gonna Geek Network at GonnaGeek.com. Welcome back to the IntelleXual Podcast. I'm your host, David S. Dawson. This is our 213th episode, and I'm sitting here with Whitney Wegman.
Hello, everybody.
And it's been a couple weeks since we last got together. Mm-hmm. A lot of things have gone on. I've been working back east a lot, so apologize for the show being a little intermittent here and there. I think that's going to kind of be the way it is for the rest of the year. I am booking more and more work out of town, which is great for me because I need the money, but makes scheduling the podcast a bit more difficult because we like to do ours face to face.
Yeah, it helps.
We'll do them remotely when we have to avoid being too long in between shows, but as much as possible we try to do it in person because I think the interaction is better.
I agree.
And I just kind of like seeing your mug.
Aw, thanks, David.
But we've had a pretty busy couple of weeks. We've been shooting promos for the San Diego Film Awards here in town.
Which has been a lot of fun.
It's been a ton of fun. So we've been doing parodies of sci-fi franchises that we love, and so far we've parodied Doctor Who and Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And this weekend we'll be shooting Dr. Frankenstein.
Yes.
So we're having a really good time. Whitney's our star, and she's dressed up in a very iconic sci-fi time travel character's costume, and I can't wait to get to a point where we can actually share the links with everybody and you can take a look at what we're doing, because we're doing some fun stuff, and it's been a blast. In the midst of everything, the Super Bowl dropped, and a boatload of commercials came out. And the reality is if you're not a huge sports fan, the Super Bowl is all about the commercials. So since I don't really care about football, imagine that. The commercials are what are important to me. Specifically, usually the trailers, but there were a lot of really interesting commercials this year.
There were.
So we're going to talk a bit about that today. But before we move into all of that, I'd just like to encourage you to check out all the shows at the Gonna Geek Network, which we are now a proud part of. In particular, you should be checking out Pop Culture Cosmos. Their most recent episodes are counting down the Marvel movies with their thoughts on each one as they lead into the Black Panther, which premieres tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go see that tonight. And I may add in, before I put this episode out, I may add in like a little 10-minute thing in my review. But they're bringing the latest news and trends in pop culture on Pop Culture Cosmos show and the PCC Multiverse, which you can listen to today on the Gonna Geek Network. So be sure to check out Pop Culture Cosmos on our network, Gonna Geek. So, Whitney, let's talk about commercials.
All right.
Super Bowl commercials.
Okay, so the ones that immediately pop into my head, Tide bought out a ton of ad space for the Super Bowl commercials.
Do you think they were trying to, like, fix their reputation right now with all the Tide Pods controversy stuff going on?
Yeah, probably. But that's such a weird thing, because it's like... So my understanding is that children and even some older children into high school have been eating the pods things. After a certain age, you should know that you should not eat laundry detergent. That's just like...
Duh.
I mean, the little ones, okay, yeah, safety packaging. And they do have, I remember earlier this year, they had a commercial where it was like a little kid had the thing, and they said that was like they had come up with packaging that was childproof. It's like a little locking zipper. But yeah, I'm sure that they poured a lot of money into their ads because they've had really bad press this year.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the ads, they got David Harbour from Stranger Things to come in and just be goofy.
They basically parodied every other major brand at the Super Bowl. Like it was fun. And classic ads like the Old Spice commercials with what was his name? Isaiah Washington.
Yeah.
Where he's sitting on a horse. I mean, they were so funny.
Yeah, it was very funny.
And they were very, very well done. On top of that. And since we've been in the middle of doing parodies ourselves, I hugely appreciate the work that goes into like trying to create the look of these iconic other things, you know? So kudos to Tide. I thought those were great commercials. I also think Toyota did a really bang up job with their disabled athletes ads.
Yeah.
They were inspirational. They weren't pity me in any way, shape, or form. They were all about overcoming and not settling for anything, which I thought was just a really cool campaign to be pushing out during the Super Bowl.
Well, and additionally, I feel like they were definitely targeting a demographic who enjoys watching sports because a lot of it was focused forward on the Winter Olympics. You know,
yeah,
they had,
exactly.
Olympians that would be in the Paralympics during the winter.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are pretty good.
Very cool. I think we'll save the trailers for the back half of this discussion. Fire and Ice, Doritos Blaze.
I don't understand. I mean, it was hysterical, and I love seeing Peter Dinklage like rocking out, but I did not understand that commercial in the least.
Did you need to understand it though? I mean, it was just kind of fun. Like here's a spicy chip, and here's a cool drink. And they kind of just said, hey, let's just do something together because it'll be fun and weird. And I the imagery of Busta Rhymes and Missy Elliott as like wall art, I thought it was hysterical. Every time those ads play, I just I enjoy it.
I just sort of shake my head. I mean,
I'm seeing Morgan Freeman rapping.
Yep.
That's, you know.
It
catches the eye.
It definitely does. It definitely does. But it confused me a bit.
What did you think of the Alexa ad?
I thought that was pretty funny. Although the end with Anthony Hopkins, a little frightening. He's I don't know. There's just
like a little bit of that Hannibal Lecter
right.
quality came
yes.
back. It was nice. When he says her name, like, oh my God, that's just freaky. It's chilly. I thought it was a brilliant idea to like say, you know, Alexa had a cold or something.
Yeah.
What does the world do when they've got a
computer virus?
In?
She had a computer virus. The one that really stood out for me and just cracked me up was the one with Danny DeVito as the Eminem.
Oh my God, that was so funny. It was so funny. I was watching most of the Super Bowl at a hotel in Tucson. And so I was sitting in the bar. And so we couldn't hear most of the ads actually while they were playing. But that one came on and I didn't need to see it. Just seeing Danny DeVito wearing a big M on his chest, I was like, oh my God, that's a riot. He's the red M&M.
And then so I didn't actually get to see that. I didn't realize there were two. The one that I saw during the Super Bowl was him just swimming in a vat of chocolate. And it was both like disturbing and hysterical all at the same time. And then like the look, because it cuts to the guy who's holding the boom mic. And the look on his face is like, yep, that's what we're all feeling right now. It was great though.
Yeah. Well, I like ads that can speak to you without actually having to hear them too. You know, like I kind of knew what the jokes were and stuff in the ad, even though I couldn't hear it. Like just being able to see the visuals and stuff and seeing the brown M&M girl, like I knew she was smacking off at him, you know?
Yeah.
It was fun. It was taking those characters that they've created in those ads over many, 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 many years and just kind of turning it on its head a little bit. I thought that was great. A lot of fun. There were also some weird ads, like the Chris Pratt Love Beer ads. Like there were two of them. There was one where he like loves beer, and then there's one where he's like prepping to love the beer.
Prepping
like,
to be their spokesperson.
I love Chris Pratt because he gives hope to fat guys like me that, you know, we can get our stuff straightened out every once in a while and become something more.
He gives hope to all those awkward folks. Because even in that commercial, like there were so many moments, and I don't know why the editor selected these, but there's moments where he like is clearly just a little awkward, which is delightful. I love that he is now getting roles as a leading man because I think his internal self is a bit of an awkward dude. Which, I mean, if you guys have ever met anyone that I've dated, that's right in my wheelhouse. But yeah, those ads just, I didn't quite hit the mark on, I'm like, eh.
Yeah. What about Keanu Reeves and the Squarespace ads?
I have no idea what they were going for there. Like, is it tongue in cheek? Is it funny? Is this just Keanu? Maybe it's just very like meta.
I think Keanu's like, he's kind of becoming a Christopher Walken type. Like, you know, people cast him just to kind of be him.
Yeah.
And then just kind of let him do what he does. But I enjoyed the one where he's standing on the motorcycle and he's like singing to himself. I thought that one was
kind of funny. And
I think it was a brilliant move on his part to basically have Squarespace run a bunch of ads featuring him that featured his new motorcycle company. So it was like really smart. He's smart.
I wonder if he did in fact use Square, because that was the shtick. Like he uses that for building his website and his platform for that. So maybe he does. Maybe he has stock in Squarespace as well as this motorcycle company.
So he's pulling a Shatner and Priceline.
Ooh, yeah. The one that also was not into the Steven Tyler one for, was it Kia for the Stinger?
Yeah, the Kia Stinger.
So the tagline was "Feel something again." And I'm like, are we to believe that Steven Tyler doesn't feel anything? Like
have you looked at him? I'm not sure he does feel anything.
He hates his life being old Steven Tyler, so now he's gonna get a time machine. I don't know. It did not sell me on that car. It's like, this is midlife crisis car. You guys are marketing a midlife crisis car right now.
I think Steven Tyler's actually past midlife.
Probably.
But, you know.
3/4 life crisis car.
It was kind of a weird ad.
It was a weird ad.
And I assume they had a dude playing him younger. I don't think it was like a digital effect.
Really? I thought that was like maybe CGI.
But it was kind of, I don't know, it was off-putting.
Yeah.
The young Steven Tyler look. I don't know. Maybe he always looked like that when he was younger. I don't know. I don't know. It was a weird ad.
It was a weird ad.
Across the board. Another weird ad, but one that I loved, was Jack in the Box versus Martha.
That cracked me up. It cracked me up even more because maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago, they did this thing on Sunday Morning America where it was her and Snoop Dogg talking about the show that they have together.
Which is like an evolution of the meme about, you know, hey, look at these two people. Only one's ever served time. You know, like.
Yeah. It was like the entire interview was hysterical.
Yeah.
And just like Martha Stewart talking about how she has street cred because she's been to jail. And like Snoop Dogg, like they both really compliment each other, weirdly enough. And yeah, it's interesting because they're both very intelligent, business-minded people and have come up with this really interesting brand that you wouldn't have ever thought would work together. And it really does.
I mean, kudos to them for taking the joke that everybody was making about the two of them and then just running with it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's fabulous.
But yeah, so the Jack in the Box commercial, I feel like plays right into that that type of poking fun at yourself sort of thing. And it was a pretty funny ad, actually.
Yeah. There were two ads that were pretty serious. The Budweiser water ad and the Hyundai cancer research ads. I mean, both of them were really well done. But the thing for me is, like, do you think the Super Bowl is an appropriate place to pitch, like, heavy emotion ads like that?
I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of feeling towards the two of those. I mean, it's great as a reminder that like these companies are doing these things, and I think it's trying to hit a certain demographic that wants their companies to be more socially conscious. Because Stella Artois did the same thing with the every chalice you buy, you get water. I don't know because there was last year. Sorry, that was for World Cup. There was a company that did one where it took people who were in very different segments of society and had them have a conversation across, having a beer. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one.
I think that was a World Cup commercial.
It was a few years ago.
Yeah. And I thought that one was very powerful and interesting because you could actually go on their website and see the continuation of, like, these were actual legitimate conversations. They didn't pull actors. And it was pertinent for the time, as going through politics and everything being so divided. And so I really enjoyed that one as it was like a social question. But I don't know, the ones this year, and maybe, I don't know, maybe because it was a commercial that didn't air during the Super Bowl. I don't know.
I don't know. I just think an event where kind of the primary goal is people getting drunk is maybe not the best place to be pitching something that emotional. I don't know. Those types of ads during the Super Bowl always feel a little weird for me. And as much as I liked the Toyota ads, it was kind of the same thing with those two.
Yeah.
Maybe they're better earlier in the night, but not so much towards the end. I don't know.
I can see that. I mean, because they're trying to be inspirational. Sports is inspirational.
Yeah.
So you can't deny that element of it.
One more ad that's not film related. It's kind of film related, but before we get to the trailers, Jeff Goldblum in the Jurassic Jeep ad, I thought it was fun. It's always fun to see Jeff Goldblum in anything. And he's one of those weird actors. Like, he'll do a bunch of stuff and then he kind of fades away for a few years. And then he kind of comes back and does a few things and then he fades away. And we're in the midst of another Jeff Goldblum kind of rush right now.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to see him. He just chews scenery without doing much, which I think is just incredible. He's not a super, flamboyant, he doesn't command the room with a lot of physicality, but somehow that way he talks, the looks he gives, you just can't help but stare at him when he's on screen. Love it. I don't know. What did you think of that ad?
Oh, I mean, I really like Jeff Goldblum. I think it has something to do with, he seems like he's always thinking, he's in his head. So it's not so much, like you said, the physicality, or it's watching him think. Right? It's that process.
And the way he talks is like he's constantly processing what he's going to say before he says it. Like he's got to think it all through, and it just draws you in. Like, oh. I think he's wonderful. It's so much fun to see him and stuff. Okay, there's a few. One more. NFL dancing.
Hysterical. I love. I mean, it's proof that like the Mannings are just delightful people, because either of them, any commercials I've ever seen, the Manning,
they got a good sense of humor.
Yeah, they're very funny. They poke fun at themselves, and it's great. And well, everybody in that commercial did that, so it's fun.
Okay, real quick, because we're running a little short on time. I mean, Black Panther's tonight.
Yep.
By now, everybody should have seen those ads. The movie looks amazing. The reviews coming in so far sound like it's going to be amazing. It blew the box office doors right off the hinges in the UK last week. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. They're forecasting it might do $180 million this weekend in America, which would make it like the number 2 or number 3 Marvel opening ever.
That's great. And how awesome is it that 2 or 3 years ago we were having the issue of Oscars So White, and now it's like an entire hugely diverse cast, and people are psyched,
Yeah.
Like, it's proof to the industry that diversity in a cast is not going to kill your film. It's actually going to improve it. So don't be afraid to take that
Embracing
chance.
that diversity too, because there's been a lot of videos online about the costuming and the set design and all that stuff for Black Panther, and it's so incredible the amount of detail they went into to try and pay, real tribute to African culture. And I'm so looking forward to watching it tonight.
Yeah.
It's just a few hours away.
It's going to be an awesome movie.
It's like 4 hours away and I get to watch it. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, Infinity War dropped a trailer, which, quite frankly, I found underwhelming.
Yeah, they didn't give you enough. They're like...
It's just kind of like, here's a couple shots we showed you before, and here's like 2 more character shots.
Mm-hmm. We will tell you nothing.
Yeah, I could have done without it, quite frankly. Cloverfield Paradox, that trailer dropped that night, and then the movie dropped that night. I love what they're doing with Cloverfield from a marketing perspective. Like, nobody knew that was coming.
It's true.
The movie had been called The God Particle on like IMDb for like the last 6 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then that day, like during the Super Bowl, it all switched.
That's smart. I like that they dropped it on Netflix. I love that Netflix is becoming its own entity, because it's really nice to, have something instantly drop that same day. It's like, here's the trailer. Go check it out at your house on your couch. It'll be great.
Exactly, right. And then, I mean, Netflix, but Amazon Prime as well. I mean, they dropped their Jack Ryan series trailer on that. And it actually looks really good.
It does. I'm really shocked to see John Krasinski. Yeah, because you're so used to seeing him as Jim on The Office and like this goofy, fun guy role. And it's like really intense. I know he was in a film about Benghazi not too long ago, and he did a great job like playing a soldier. So it looks like it's sort of that same persona, but not the first person that I would have been like, yeah, next Jack Ryan.
Yeah, although, if you go to the book Jack Ryan, it's probably a pretty good choice because he was supposed to be a kind of more of an office guy. He was an analyst, not a field guy. So it'll be interesting to see how he turns in that role. And then Red Sparrow, which seems to be kind of, for me, it's Hollywood's response to the dragging of the feet of Marvel to do an actual Black Widow movie. Somebody just decided to go make one and call it Red Sparrow. But it's almost, watching the trailer, it feels like everything we've learned about Black Widow through the course of the MCU. Just
I don't know.
Put into its own film.
I don't really know any about the premise of Red Sparrow or.
Yeah, Russian female assassins. So I love Jennifer Lawrence in just about anything she does. So I'm gonna go watch it, but it feels like this should have been the Black Widow movie. Like ScarJo should have had the opportunity to do that film before Jennifer Lawrence did. And then the last trailer to talk about is the film that's dropping in May, Solo.
That looked exciting.
It looks pretty good, considering all the difficulties they had with it, firing their directors 2 months into the production, and then hiring Ron Howard in to finish it, and then he ended up shooting almost as long as they shot on the original 2 months of principal photography to get it done, and he made a bunch of changes, and everybody was kind of real iffy on how this movie was going to turn out, and Disney and Lucasfilm took their time, like dropping anything about it outside of Ron Howard doing tweets for months. It was nice to finally see a trailer and actually see it looks good. Looks like a Star Wars movie.
I mean, if you're gonna trust anyone to do a good job, I feel like Ron Howard is a pretty good go-to.
Well, and he sat on set a lot with George Lucas during the prequels and visited those sets, and I'm pretty sure he did the same like during Jedi and Empire, and so he's got a pretty deep understanding of that universe because he was friends with George Lucas through the whole creation of everything, So I think it's interesting to see him take on the role of directing in this universe, and I'm looking forward to see how that film turns out.
And this is the first one that he's ever directed.
It's the first Star Wars film he's ever directed, yeah. So,
hey.
Yeah, and he's a good director. He's made a couple of things that I don't care much for. Beautiful mind. But no, he's good with the spectacle stuff, Apollo 13 and the Da Vinci Code films, and so I'm looking forward to see how he handles the Star Wars universe.
But what I like about his films is it doesn't all rely on spectacle, like he does really well at having good character work.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's an actor who became a director, so I think even in the midst of the spectacle, he's always really good at paying attention to what the characters are up to and where the actors should be in regards to all of that. So, yeah, I have faith that he's going to deliver something fun in May. And that won't be the train wreck that everybody was terrified it was going to be when they fired the original directors.
Who was the original director?
The guys who made the Lego movie. Chris Miller and I forget the name of the other guy. Yeah. But it sounds to me it was just kind of like their background didn't lend themselves to actually working within the franchise mold.
Gotcha.
Real well. So it sounded like they learned a lot, and Kathleen Kennedy learned a lot, hiring them and then firing them. So, we'll see how it all turns out. But yeah, so that's it for our NFL Super Bowl commercial reviews. We're going to move into a interview of our own chat with two San Diego filmmakers who are working on a new feature film that they're shooting here in town, a rather ambitious feature film, shooting a feature in, what'd they say? 7 days?
7 days, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 85 pages in 7 days. That's
8 pages a day is what they were looking at.
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't filmmakers listening to the show and are curious about that sort of stuff, most of the big feature films you watch, like, they push 3 pages a day. So... but in the indie film world, when you've got a small budget and limited amount of time with your crew and your cast, you push as fast as you can, and so they're looking to do their feature in a week, and that's amazing.
That's breakneck.
I've been on some films like that, and it's a breakneck pace. But we had a really great chat with Denice Riddle and Dianna Ippolito. I butchered her name in the second half of the interview. I'll just go ahead and admit it right now. But it's a fantastic chat with two ladies who are pushing forward and making things happen. And I think you'll get a lot out of the discussion. I know I did. I don't know about you, Whit.
Yeah, I definitely did.
And so we will let you listen to the chat with Dianna and Denice, and we will see you again next week on the IntelleXual Podcast.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hello there, citizens. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the floaty that will not flush no matter how many times you try in the toilet bowl of crime. I am Darkwing Duck, telling you please, talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. Whatever the heck that means. After all, you are watching IntelleXual Podcast with your ears.
We are here with Dianna Ippolito and Denice Riddle, and we're going to chit-chat a little bit about their next production. Welcome to the IntelleXual Podcast on...
We're on the Gonna Geek Network now.
Yeah, on the Gonna Geek Network.
I'm David S. Dawson.
I'm Whitney Wegman. So I guess to start out, guys, tell us a little bit about your production. Let's just dive right in there.
Sure. Well, I'm Dianna Ippolito. I am the writer, director, and one of the producers on the film.
What's the name of the film?
It's called Close Your Eyes.
Close Your Eyes.
And it's a psychological thriller that was inspired by Hitchcock's The Birds and also by Edgar Allan Poe and The Telltale Heart.
So you sort of meshed the two up, The Birds and Telltale Heart?
I did. One of the goals was to be able to do a feature in one location and not have to have any company moves and to keep it real simple as far as the budget. And so I thought, well, what would keep somebody inside a cabin that's a good reason? And I was like, a bird attack.
Ooh.
And then what would scare the shit out of people would be the Telltale Heart.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Are we allowed to cuss?
Absolutely. Swear away.
Okay, good.
Let them fly, Denice.
Damn it.
Son of a bitch.
Ass liquor.
So you came up with this storyline, and then how did you get it off the ground from there? How did you and Denice get connected?
Well, the first thing I did was make a budget, and then I began to see what kind of crew I could get and if everybody would come on board for, way lower than you should be paying people. But,
Welcome to the arts.
But actually, I had to start there because if I couldn't find a crew to do it and work with me within this very small budget, I couldn't make the movie. So I had to get a commitment from my DP and all the rest of the crew. And at that point, I began to look for funding. And I got such a good response initially that I had to take a leap of faith and just start pre-production before we even had all the money. So, there's so much to do, especially when you have a small independent film that you're trying to do. You're doing a lot of it yourself. And then I started looking to shoot here in San Diego because it's my hometown. And I put out a word out on Facebook groups and other things to try and find local crew. And that's how I found Denice.
And then Denice, what drew you to this project?
I actually was in another country when somebody tagged me in her post. So the 10 minutes that I had Wi-Fi, I was checking in, seeing if everything was okay at home, and saw the tag in the post. I'm like, I'm in Bon Air. I'll message you when I get back. So it was like a week later, and we connected up. I looked into her work. I watched her previous films. I talked to a couple of people that had worked with her prior. I sent messages to the crew that she had already worked with, that she had assembled, and found out she was fantastic to work with. Just want to make sure I work with people that, we would mesh good. And we got along, man, it was like we were best friends that had known each other for 20, 30 years. We went shopping, and right when I got back, we went for wardrobe and just clicked, just right away. It felt like I'd known her forever. So
then it was an easy flow.
Very easy.
Just because we haven't mentioned it, what hat are you wearing for this film?
A lot of hats, namely producer, but also she'll be helping on set in every other capacity. I bet pretty much everybody on the set, because we're such a small crew, is me wearing 2 and 3 hats. But Denice is
so
my
far,
right hand.
just done wardrobe, help bring in some investors. Mm-hmm. I'll probably do a lot of first AD because I'm pretty good at first AD stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And finding money.
Yeah, I'm good at that too. Yeah. I got some in my couch right now.
You're good at finding money?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really great skill.
You don't want to say that.
I didn't know I was good at that.
You don't want to say that publicly.
Can you please edit this? Take that part out. Yeah, I don't want everybody coming to me thinking I can get them money. I just completely
having to work out for this project.
I believe in her, and if you're going to invest anything, or you're going to skip your Starbucks coffee for a day, and you want to put money towards something, this is somebody who's is worth it.
It just terrified Whitney. The idea of giving up her Starbucks coffee is it's a nightmare.
I mean, it doesn't specifically have to be Starbucks, but the idea of giving up coffee.
Oh, you don't have to give up coffee. I just meant save your $5 for the day and give it to her. So, I was able to pull in some small ones and some big ones, and
here we are.
Give her my piggy bank too.
So now, how far are you guys into the process at this point?
Well, we're shooting April 1st, so pretty close.
Oh,
Very
wow.
close.
Wow.
5 weeks, I guess, away.
We've had makeup tests and table reads, and it's going.
Yeah.
So are a lot of your crew, it sounds like, are from San Diego. What about your cast?
Well, everybody's actually coming down from
LA.
Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think I have 2 people that I'm using from San Diego. People down here just wouldn't work for the low rate, but people in LA would. So,
or their talent and expertise were lower than what we needed for a feature film. This
True.
needs to be really, really good, and we need to have professionals on set, but yet we can't pay professionals. So we want somebody who, with experience, that knows what they're doing, that isn't going to be we have to handhold them. We're shooting 10 pages a day.
Which is a
feature
lot.
film
That's
in
ambitious.
1 week.
Yeah.
1 week. So we can't have any hand holding. We can't have any, I'll train you while you're here. You either know what you're doing or you're not in. So, and then, the professionals want, they deserve the money. They've been trained for it and they've gone to school for it. But
luckily, a lot of the crew that I've worked with before are coming on board. So I already have that rapport with them. So we've all worked together. I produced
on several films.
Yeah, I produced my first feature film a year and a half ago, and got them on board that. And so we've all been in those long days, 14-hour days together. We all like each other. We don't want to kill each other at the end. So I know it's going to be okay.
And the projects turned out amazing.
Yeah.
So,
and what is your background?
So I actually started as a photographer for many, many years. So I kind of developed my eye visually that way. And then about 16 years ago, transitioned into screenwriting. And just recently, in the last 3 years, then sort of turned my ambition towards directing.
And what motivated the move to directing?
I actually was doing some short films and trying to find directors to work with me on the vision that I had written, and couldn't really find anybody that really saw eye to eye with me on how to shoot it. And eventually I was a little reluctant because I studied for many years how to write, but I didn't study for many years how to direct. So I was a little bit unsure, it's a new territory. And then I kind of just jumped right in, and I really like it.
Do you think your photography background helped you make that transition
Absolutely.
a little easier?
Yeah, because as a photographer in all different kinds of photography shoots, you are directing people.
Mm-hmm.
You do weddings, you do events, you have to tell people what to do, you have to be authoritative, you have to be confident, and all that comes into play when you're actually directing actors as well.
Right.
So it was scary to jump in, but at the same time, after I did it, I was like, what was I so scared of?
So the first movie that you directed, was it a short or a feature?
It was a short, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And after that, did you feel like, okay, I've got this, or what was the experience of the first time director?
Oh, the first time was, the hardest part was not so much talking to actors and directing them emotionally, but it was figuring out camera placement, what created the best tension, all that kind of blocking, learning how to block people and doing it right. And then just realizing that, don't second guess your first idea. And then after that, I was like, okay, I understand now the process, how to do a short film. And then from there, just every time I did another one, I learned something else. And so now it's like doing the feature is exciting because I can do it for more than 10 or 11 minutes, So.
Yeah. I tell everybody the thing that I love about directing more than anything is that I feel like I'm never going to stop learning.
Oh, no, you never stop.
For the rest of my life, I'm always going to be learning new
Absolutely.
techniques, new ways of doing things. Yep. And that for me is just super exciting.
Oh my God,
Definitely.
all the time. In the car, when I'm in traffic, I put on YouTube and I listen to directors talk about directing. I was listening to Ron Howard talk about directing yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I was really inspired because he said something about Tom Hanks that I thought was very, I needed to hear at that moment for whatever reason. He was talking about when he thought Tom Hanks became a star from an actor to a leading man. And he said it was the moment on screen when he sort of was more compelling as a listener in the scene than as an actor.
Right.
And I thought that was really an insightful thing to have said, because you can be the most important actor when you're listening and you're reacting. And I thought, I've got to remember that, to keep those moments and let those moments play out.
Yeah, I think oftentimes newer directors, younger directors have a tendency to focus just on the person who's talking, and they don't think about the blocking and the reactions and all the other things that are going on in a scene.
A lot of it is what's going on when you're not saying any dialogue at all.
Yeah. Most powerful stuff.
That's where your story is, and that's where the actors have to, your experienced actors can build tension and build a scene with no words at all. The look, their body, their framing, their stature, so we got really, really good actors on
I've worked with them all before except for the male actor. So I'm coming at this production in a sort of safe place. They know me. We already have the rapport on other films. We know each other's working styles, and so it's.
You want to drop some names?
Chloe Bale, she's actually one of the leads, and Rodrigo Tactaquin, I actually met on Instagram. He is a Native American actor. So once I met him, I wasn't going to cast a Native American, and then I met him, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to turn this whole thing into that aspect. I'm going to utilize that aspect of his background and his personality and incorporate that. Emmy? Oh yeah, he has an Emmy, which was I found out later. I cast him and then found out.
I would drop that.
That's awesome.
You're welcome.
And then I have Sasha Bujnak, which is going to be her first feature film. And then I work with a really talented young lady named Emebet Bayen, who was in a short film of mine, and
she was amazing.
She was amazing. She actually got the script 2 days before we filmed, because I had another actress who was going to be in the role who had to drop out, and she nailed it. She had to cry the entire time, and she broke my heart when I watched it because it was so moving. So I'm very excited. I have a talented crew.
That's cool.
So now, do you usually do psychological thrillers, or is this a new venture for you as far as the genre?
Actually, I am more schooled in comedy writing. Comedy writing and drama and coming of age is kind of where I've been more comfortable with my screenwriting, and I went to the AFM.
A play too.
Oh yeah, that's true. But I went to the American film market, and I was trying to peddle my films. I had some trailers and some artwork, and I was like, "Want to buy my script?" And everyone would say to me, "This is really great. Do you have any horror?"
Right.
After like the 10th time, I'm like, no, but I'll get some.
Yeah, that's what they want to buy. They want to buy horror films.
Yeah,
because they're so low
cheap
budget.
to produce.
Yeah.
So low budget, and people are buying them. Yeah. Everybody wants them, so they're easy.
Yeah.
Can never get enough of them, apparently.
No.
Yeah.
But I resisted the typical horror. I don't want to do your typical gore horror. I'm still very old school in terms of what appeals to me in terms of horror and thriller.
What would you consider some of your horror influences?
It's funny because it's categorized as horror, but when I watch it, it's scary, but it's not really horror. It's a movie that George C. Scott was in called The Changeling, 1980. And it's about a guy who suffers the loss of his family in a car accident, and he moves into a new town in a new house that is haunted. And it's really got a lot of suspense and has horror elements, but it's really involved with the drama is involved with the characters.
Right.
And so that's what I take away from it. Even The Exorcist, things like that, it's all character driven.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to actually bring that back into my work and still have the elements of horror that people want to buy, that appeal to people, but also have it really be character driven.
Cool.
Nice. And Denice, so we haven't actually gotten to chat with you a lot. Can you tell us your background and how you got involved in this whole crazy film world?
I did commercials as a kid in San Diego, and my family was my cousins, and they were all in entertainment business, so that was just the bomb for me as a kid. I loved it. Grades dropped drastically from all of the activity and auditionings and filming, so went from a 4.0 to a 1.9, so my mom yanked me out and said, no more, you're done. So I got married out of high school, did kids, did life, but knew that this was where I was going to be and had no doubt that's where I was going to end up. So I was working as a caregiver specializing with Alzheimer's dementia and making pretty good money, and just decided I couldn't do it one more day. So I went home and told hubby, I'm like, I want to get back into the entertainment business, either as acting, writing. I had scripts that I had written. And he's like, okay, well, we'll talk next month, see how finances are. Maybe you can go to part-time. And I'm like, oh, no, I already quit, like a couple days ago, just FYI. And he's like, okay, well, alrighty then. So, you can't have part-time. Like, I'd already tried to do it working even part-time, and I missed a lot of things, turned down pretty big roles and very big films that I couldn't do because of work, and just decided to jump in.
How long ago did you make that decision?
3 years ago.
Yeah. You've been pretty busy ever since?
I can't even shower and shave. I'm so busy. I don't know if you know from seeing all the productions I'm in and helping with and doing simultaneously, but I love it, and I have an knack for it, and it's what I want to do. And I don't want to just act. I got back into it for the acting, but decided that, after doing first AD and a little bit of script supervisor, and I just love every aspect of it. I don't want to just be in front of the camera. I'm actually enjoying it behind. Of course, I'd like to merge it all and be able to do everything and be a Matt Damon and act it, write it, direct it, produce, like to have these multiple hats. But I'm happy just being on set 7 days a week. And if
I've done the multiple hat thing.
Yes, I love it.
It's exhausting.
Oh, no, it's not. It's the funnest thing. I love it.
I'm not saying it's not fun. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. Like, I literally, after working on, like, massive shows like Pitch that were filming, like, 18, 19-hour days, I would go home and I was sad after, like, 20 hours. I'm like, why even go home? It's only 2 more hours. I got to be back on set. Can't we just film 24 hours a day?
That's why I like to film on location, and we all sleep on the set and stuff, and like we don't go home.
I think we're witnessing introvert versus extrovert in this industry, and the reactions.
Yeah, I'm a total introvert. Like that's my thing.
I'm an extrovert.
There you go. There you go.
I'm an introvert who forces himself to do extroverted things.
Oh, okay.
So.
Like and I'm an extrovert that has to force myself to calm down and stop working. My husband's like, you're on 3 days with no sleep. Is that an issue? I'm like, not at all. We're good.
Well, so I read this thing one time. The way you can tell if you're an introvert or an extrovert, if you are around a lot of people and it makes you tired, you're probably an introvert. If you're around a lot of people and it makes you like excited and psyched up, extrovert.
You are totally psyching me out right now.
So, there you go.
I love everybody.
There you go. More people, the more love.
Yes.
Not that there's not love with introverts. We just show it by turning our backs on you.
I'm married to an introvert, so I've got that perfect balance. He's shy and quiet and could barely speak when I met him, and it was just adorable. And I could talk. I could literally go in front of Congress in a 5,000 panel and the president and be like, yo, pull my finger.
You should. Tell him what for.
Now, that's a weird thing, because, like, I'm an introvert, but standing in front of a crowd where I've got a microphone and I'm, like, in charge, not a problem. Not a problem at all. I love that. It's the like, interpersonal things, where we're all just hanging out and, like, the delineation of what my role is with you when I don't know what it is. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit back here and watch.
Just sit there and be my puppy, David.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and watch.
Is that your David persona versus, like, David for reals?
Yeah, David for reals is, like, subtle. David S. Dawson, totally different
Sounds
person.
like your next podcast title. David for reals.
I like it.
Maybe.
I'll write it for you.
Maybe.
In fact, I'll direct you.
Yeah.
I'm a really good director with introverts. All right.
We can go there.
Enough about
What about
me.
you? Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I think I'm both. I think you have to be an introvert to be a writer, but to be able to tell people what to do, you have to be an extrovert.
Yeah, writing's a lonely place.
It really is. And so is photography, if you think about it. If you're not doing events and you're out doing, nature photography or street photography, you are singular. It's weird. I went from a singular occupation to a singular occupation. But I love people. I love being around people. I love going out and doing things. I definitely love my downtime. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit of both. I think you have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had to develop that extroverted side to do the things that I want to do. So
Mine really
inner
varies
conflicts.
depending on how much caffeine is going in my bloodstream.
Well, here you go. Drink up. Let's see what you got in you, girl.
Extrovert.
Look.
David's-
Liquid extrovert.
David's cracking
We're going to a
up over
party
here.
right after this. We're gonna go speak in front of Congress. Drink that coffee. All right, let's go.
1, 2, 3.
Got some choice things to
mountains
say,
move,
Congress.
girl.
Don't tempt
Mountains
her.
to
She's
move.
gonna be jumping. Like people won't be able to hear it except for the whoosh of her mic. Up and down, up and down.
Hey, I've calmed down a lot. The very first podcast we did together, I was like really nervous. And my voice went way up here.
We did that one outside too.
We did.
Follow the other road. Follow the other road.
I need to get my voiceover real done. I got to do some really weird, creepy voices. Maybe it'd be good for your film.
Yeah.
I'll work that into the next
Work
one.
on something.
How long did it take you to develop your script?
Relatively fast. I came up with the concept for it, I think, over the summer. And I had my first draft done in early November. And I just sent the final draft out to the actors a few days ago. So I had to work out all, it's not easy to have one location. You can't cut away to anything.
Right.
So it really takes time to be able to sit there and think about how can I maintain this level of suspense and tension, and what do you talk about when you're stressed out, and what is realistic, and how would I actually be in this situation? How would I be in this situation with my friends? And I came at it that way, and I had to let it sit for a while and let it simmer, and then eventually, the more movies I watched for inspiration, the more and more I was able to go, okay, I think I'm halfway through the script now. I think I've got this. And then I got some feedback.
You got
some
really
notes
good
on
feedback.
It. Got really great feedback.
Really good
And
feedback.
then just basically about 4 days ago sent out the final draft. So with enough time for everyone to learn their lines, plenty of time.
How did it feel to send that draft out?
So relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm helping produce it, so that was one big thing on my shoulders. Plus everything else, getting the location and getting insurance and all the things that are on my plate. To finally get that away is huge. So.
Phew. So now for you, are you the type of writer that once you've sent out that final draft, it's locked, it's done, or is there anything that might come up in the process of shooting where you're like, okay, we're going to change this on the fly?
Yeah, absolutely.
I got inspired by this actor or something.
I think there are certain scenes that should remain as written, but I'm really open to improvisational stuff, especially when in this kind of film, when you're under duress and stress and you're freaking out. So whatever the actors do in that moment would probably be better than anything I could ever imagine. So I'm definitely happy to go there.
And the actors will be happy too.
Yeah.
So even just as you were evolving the script, once you got your actors, did that change a lot of what you'd written, or?
No, I mean, I pretty much, once I had a visual in my head of who everybody was, I tried to delineate each character to make them all they're separate entities, so that it didn't seem like, girl talking to girl too, it could be interchangeable. So I really tried to define them in different ways. And that once that I had that in my head, it pretty much was easy. So
nice.
It helped.
What's your process of working with your actors? How do you help them get to their motivation?
I start with their backstory, the character's backstory, and then once they've had a chance to digest it, it's written out, and then once they've had a chance to digest that backstory, then I usually get on the phone with them and I say, this is the character, this is the motivation, this is where they're coming from, this is where they're at emotionally, this, they have a sister, their only child, whatever it is, and then usually the actor that I work with can give me feedback. I've had this experience, or how about this? And we kind of go back and forth, and that all gets layered in, whether it comes out on the screen or not. It's something internal. So I'm a big collaborator.
Yeah.
I love getting feedback and talking it out.
I like working with the actors where they have a lot of flexibility in helping build that backstory.
Sure.
Because I find that if you can give them some ownership that way,
that's smart.
They're just that much more invested in the performance they're going to give. So I think that's really cool. It's cool.
My actress, Chloe Bale, actually, when she read the script, gave me some notes on it, coming from her perspective as an actress. And she said something that was really important to me in that phone call. And because of that, I changed the ending of my movie. I wasn't even considering it. And then after that conversation, I began to think about it. I was like, you know what? That was a great note. So I do listen to everybody and everything. If it resonates with me, I'll make changes.
That's awesome. That's awesome as a director. I know I've had where I went and then script and I've met with the director and like literally they're like, what you just said and what I'm like, is it okay if I say this and this, and like just improv it, do what you think your character would do. And I mean, not that I wanted to, say that I didn't want to do it his way, but just knowing the character and knowing the script, and like I really feel like this is what I would be saying at this moment, and having that flexibility and having a director allow that was very, very, I mean, it just was awesome.
Well, and you definitely don't always get that, because I think a lot of times if you have a writer-director, they've lived with these characters so long that it's hard to let go of the mental vision they have of what's supposed to happen and do that.
And I've had that too. And that, I watch a scene and it's like, wow, it's just not that, I mean, it's just, I just don't believe it. And I don't think anybody else did either.
In the end, an actor has to believe what they're portraying.
Yes, exactly.
Regardless of what a director's vision of that scene is supposed to be. If the actor doesn't believe it, then the audience isn't going to believe it. So I've had to come to that realization as a director over many years. Like, I might have a particular vision for a scene, but if it's not working with the actor, I have to be aware of that.
Yeah, if you've got a really good actor.
And then figure out how to either... Because I don't like giving line deliveries to actors, so I try to work with them on the motivation, and I'll ask them, where do you think you are in this scene? Why are you doing what you're doing? And then we try to talk emotionally through it.
Right.
So that eventually I think we try to get to a point where they're able to do the scene in a way that they believe.
It's organic to them.
Yeah.
Without being handheld.
Yeah. So it's taken a long time to get where I feel comfortable doing that, but I think it's really starting to show in my movies the last couple of years, too.
Actors really, I mean, if they're a good actor and they've been acting for a long time, like, I go into the script. I don't just read my parts. I read everybody's parts. I read everything and analyze it. And, like, I don't just read the lines. I am that person, I even go on my breaks or my lunch, like, being that character. I don't break that character. And I think the actors, if you allow them to, and they're really professional and they know the story, they can see and feel that director and that writer's vision. Like, they have become this person. So they're vested in it almost as much as the writer and director are, because they feel it, and being able to make those choices as an actor is important. And it hurts when you can't, because it's like, I could show you why that person wouldn't say this, and I could, it just didn't work. But, I did it how I was directable and did what I needed, what they asked to do, but it just I didn't fall for it.
Well, I guess it's one of those things, like, that's why they hired you. There is the you-ness of you that you're bringing to that character. Let us bring that to the character.
Right. Thanks again for joining us on the IntelleXual Podcast. Join us again next week as we begin our Oscar predictions, and as we wrap up our chat with Dianna Ippolito and Denice Riddle. And until then, have a great weekend or a great week wherever you are. Be sure to check out Black Panther, and we will talk soon.